AliExpress is a website that you might be familiar with for selling cheap goods from overseas, but a lot of the purchases are suspicious at best. I've utilized them before on this channel to buy some PC hardware here and there, and it's been an overall pretty okay experience. But I wanted to see, is it possible to create an entire gaming PC 100% from the ground up using only parts from AliExpress? And would it be more affordable than just using eBay here in the States? Will I get some sketchy components that will potentially burn my house down? We'll find out right after this video sponsor. When you install Windows on your Steam Deck or any other PC for that matter, you're going to need to activate it to unlock all the settings. Why spend a ton of money for a code when you can use the sponsor of today's video, SCDKey? You can purchase Windows keys at a large discount, and to get 25% off your order, use code JASON, that's JASON, to get 25% off your order. After purchasing, you'll get your code pretty much instantly and be able to unlock your computer's full potential. And remember that all Windows 10 Pro users can upgrade to Windows 11 for free at any time in the future using these keys. Just take your code, go to your Windows activation menu, pop it in, and boom. Windows is activated, and you should be on your way. Thanks to SCDKey. I didn't have a specific budget for this PC build, but I wanted to try to create the cheapest gaming PC I could within reason, meaning that I'm not just going to buy a 15-year-old GPU just because it's technically cheaper. I want parts that make sense and could still get good gaming performance. Luckily, when I was buying all these parts, AliExpress was actually having a sale, so I was able to save a few dollars more than I normally would. And I'll have links to everything in the description in case you want to pick up anything mentioned in this video. Now let's start with the most expensive part of this build, the case. Because of the large size and shipping costs, there are basically no cases on AliExpress that make any sense. The only one I could find that could even kind of come into the realm of possibility is this open air frame case that I got for $44. Now I personally am not a big fan of these types of cases, but I understand what they're going for. It's basically just a few pieces of metal I had to assemble to create a frame to slap all my parts on. But for $44, I guess it's an okay deal. I'd rather spend that 45 bucks on a real case like that Q300L V2 on Amazon when it's on sale. But this is the AliExpress PC, so I didn't have a choice. At least the metal does seem kind of sturdy and will create an incredibly portable machine, I guess. I guess it could be pretty good for a portable test bench or something. Now, this was an absolute nightmare to put together though. The instructions are some of the worst I've ever seen with barely any English, so I just did my best to create something that could hold the PC together. But hey, it came with this little power button I hung here, so that's pretty neato. Now normally I don't recommend buying a power supply on AliExpress, but hey, this is for science, so we have to do it. I grabbed this 400 watt one from iWangu and it only cost me $23. It's your standard ATX power supply, but apparently it has RGB in it, so that will be fun. And luckily it also came with a single 6+2 pin for a graphics card. Now realistically, the graphics card that would potentially go in this machine won't be too powerful, so I think 400 watts is fine for this PC. Don't ask me where this ranks on the PSU tier list because I have no idea. But if it was an absolute fire hazard, I feel like there would be more negative reviews. And with over 500 sold, I think it will work just fine as long as we don't push it to its absolute limits. Maybe I should be wearing a lead vest when handling these things. It's very light for a power supply. It feels very hollow compared to every other power supply I've ever used. That's not a good sign, right? For the motherboard, I decided to use one of those motherboard, CPU, and RAM bundles you see a lot of the time. These are mostly using old server components and being rehashed into modern-ish motherboards to include things like support for NVMe SSDs. Now these are not the most powerful things out there, but for price to performance, it is pretty surprising for what you get. This is built on the X79 chipset, which is pretty old at this point, but hey, I'm not complaining. The motherboard has 4 DIMM slots for RAM, NVMe drive support, and good enough I/O. It comes in this ugly red and yellow colors for some reason, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. The CPU in the bundle is the Xeon E5 2689C2, a massive 8 cores and 16 threads with a turbo clock of 3.6 GHz. This thing is not great when it comes to power draw, but hey, sacrifices must be made. It's also a quad channel CPU, so the fact that the bundle only comes with a single stick of RAM will kind of hurt us here, but it is what it is. The CPU is strong enough to run some entry-level graphics cards without issues, and be just fine for general computing, so I'm not too worried. The RAM included in the bundle is a single stick of 16 gigs DDR3 ECC RAM, so at least we get 16 gigs, I guess. I sure wish it was quad channel though, to see the full potential of this machine. But this motherboard CPU RAM bundle only cost me 30 bucks, so truly I'm not complaining. So far, our running total for 5 of our 8 components is only $97, which is just kind of mind-boggling. And that's with the stupid expensive case I had to purchase. Guys, is building a computer from AliExpress a budget builder's cheat code? Let's continue to find out. To cool the CPU, I could have gone with a standard tower style air cooler where you have a heatsink and a fan slapped on the side of it, but there was a cheaper option that I simply could not resist. This cooler from a company called Tishrik only sent me back $6, and while I have no idea how good of a job it will do in cooling, it certainly is compact, stylish, ergonomic. Let's just say it's certainly a CPU cooler. Not all CPU coolers these days have compatibility with LGA 2011 sockets since they are pretty dated, but for $6 I think it's going to be just fine. Except it wasn't. The product got here and I realized it doesn't have LGA 2011 support. I ordered the thing at like 3 a.m. and I must have read it wrong. That's my bad. There are a ton of CPU coolers on AliExpress for around the same price, but I couldn't wait a month to make this video, so I just grabbed one on Amazon that could come the next day. Now this won't affect the performance, but I'm pretty disappointed that the one thing that isn't AliExpress on the PC is the one thing that is actually super easy to find on AliExpress. Sorry guys, that's totally on me. For the storage, I found this SSD that had over 10,000 sold and 4,000 reviews, sitting at 4.7 stars. So while I'm not expecting the fastest, most reliable top tier level of SSD, it should be good enough for this machine and at least last during the benchmarks. This is 512 gigs of NVMe Gen 3 storage from a company called X-Ray Disk. I tested the speeds on it and it lived up to the speeds that they were advertising, so I think it's going to be pretty good to store all of our games, mods, and Tifa Lockhart fanfiction. The drive was an absolute bargain, coming in at only $21, so even if it craps out after a few years, I still think it was a great deal. And last but not least, we have the graphics card. I could not make a final choice on this as there are way too many options when deciding on a cheap GPU. And I originally wanted to grab this RX 550 from Soyo. This card only has 4 gigs of VRAM, but it's low cost, low power, and so small it can fit into just about any PC build. But it's still $38 on AliExpress, which I still think is actually too expensive for how much power you're getting. Well, compared to the alternative. If I was going with the absolute cheapest PC that still had a reasonable GPU, I would probably pick this, but if I wanted to build a PC that could actually play some games well, I would pick up this RX 580 2048 SP. It's got 8 gigs of VRAM, and despite being in the same performance level of an RX 570, it has much better price to performance compared to the RX 550. This one cost me $60, and I think compared to the RX 550, that extra $22 is absolutely worth it. You're getting double the VRAM and way more overall performance. There are some other great cheap GPU choices on AliExpress, like the 5500 XT, but I wanted to keep it simple and go with old reliable. I also didn't want to get anything too power heavy because, well, you know. Okay, so here is the total price for the PC. Absolutely bonkers prices, to be honest, when we're talking about full-fledged gaming PCs. So was AliExpress able to custom build a PC that was super cheap? Yes, that part was an absolute success. But how's the performance? Let's find out. Alright, look, we didn't get 240 FPS in Cyberpunk, but we were able to play a lot of games at very respectable frame rates. We left some power on the table by not having quad channel memory, but this PC costs less than an average meal at McDonald's these days, and it was all ordered on AliExpress. Big win! So you should go out and build this PC right now, right? Probably not. While yes, we were able to build this PC pretty seamlessly, there's a lot of reasons not to build it. A lot of these parts are literally 10 plus years old at this point and could potentially crap out at any moment. Better cases could be found on Amazon for the same price or lower, and it won't take a month to get to your house. And while the SSD and PSU worked fine for this project for now, we really have no track record to know just how long they will last. Is the PSU going to just die one day soon and take a component with it? We just don't know the reliability of these components, and yes, the SSD had some good speeds, but it's hard to say how long it will last. But with all those good reviews on the website, surely it must be perfect, right? Well, I'm sure it's fine. But I don't think many people come back to review a product 1 to 3 years later when it dies. You basically only get a review within the first month or so. But that doesn't mean you need to stave off AliExpress as a website forever. If you go into it knowing what to expect and understanding your limits, you can actually find a lot of great, cheaper hardware when you need it. And AliExpress offers free returns, and while it does take a little more time for the return to finalize, I've had no issues with it in the past. So to wrap up the entire video, go ahead and buy from AliExpress, but don't be dumb, be safe, be logical, and don't buy your cases or power supplies on there. Come on, guys. But if you're looking to build a PC in the $200 or $300 price range, you can check out one of these 2 videos where we use some parts from AliExpress to build gaming PCs that will play all of your games at respectable frame rates and probably won't burn your house down. My name's Jason. Thanks for watching.